We have a major Toronto Blue Jays free agency update to go over today as a brand new report has dropped revealing some very interesting details both on the Pete Alonso front, but more interestingly at this moment surrounding Alex Bregman. We're going to break down those reports and discuss what this means going forward as spring training is inching closer and closer and deals at this point are inevitable. Stay tuned for all that in this episode. Before we get into it, quick reminder, hit that subscribe button. This is the last day here, so tomorrow I'll be back on my in the better setup, so bear with the camera quality and everything like that. But there's a lot to go over today, and obviously all the talks have been on Pete Alonso. We do have a bit of an update there, but we're going to be focusing on Alex Bregman because new reports are dropping. New reports are coming out surrounding the Jays' pursuit of Bregman, other teams' pursuit of Bregman as well. And there's a lot of things to go over today. Now, we'll start with the fact that yesterday, the Houston Astros finalized a trade with the Chicago Cubs to send their star reliever, Ryan Pressly, out to Chicago. He finally waived his no-move clause. And on the surface, you were probably thinking it doesn't really affect the Jays, but it actually does now because there's now a higher chance that the Astros are able to re-sign Alex Bregman. But this report dropped just yesterday. The Tigers, the Astros, the Jays, the Cubs, and the Red Sox are in the hunt to sign Bregman, who has a 6-year, $156 million offer from the Astros on the table. And this now becomes a very interesting point of conversation because when you think about A, what the Jays can offer, and B, if it even makes sense. We've been hearing all offseason long that the Jays are very interested in Alex Bregman, and at the moment, the way their team is constructed, let's assume they don't get Pete Alonso. In theory, on paper, in reality, Alex Bregman's probably the best fit when it comes to seamlessness because, of course, they have a third base spot open. Right now, you have Ernie Clement penciled in as the everyday third baseman. There's, of course, been rumblings about Yoan Moncada and players like that who are not on the same level as Alex Bregman. But as this report drops, the Jays are still in the mix here, and the Tigers have been kind of the front runners. And for a while there, no one thought that the Astros were going to be able to put in, actually get him back. But now, following the trade of Ryan Pressly, it opens up some money. They have an offer of 6 years, $156 on the table. Now, if you're the Toronto Blue Jays, I'm going to ask you guys to let me know down below. Is that something you'd even consider? Because you would have to beat the 6-year, $156 million offer. And clearly, Alex Bregman, Scott Boras are looking for a lot more than the $156 million that they're being presented by the Houston Astros. Because at this point, that's a pretty good offer to me. He's coming off of, 3-4+ worst seasons in a row. Obviously, last year was his worst season in a very long time. He put up a 768 OPS, which was good for a 118 OPS plus, 26 home runs, and 75 RBIs. There's no doubt that he would help, and he's a very good defender, but there's no doubt that he would help the Toronto Blue Jays, especially with having some stability when it comes to, stability in the infield. They obviously have Bichette. They now have Andres Gimenez. They have, a really solid infield group minus third base. But if they end up getting Pete Alonso, you're probably going to see Vlad to slide to third a little bit, but it's interesting. But the article basically goes on to say that Bregman, who turns 31 in late March, remains a free agent with 22 days until position players report to spring training. We're now less than a month away. The industry is waiting for him to sign. The Tigers, Astros, Jays, Cubs, and Red Sox are in the hunt to sign Bregman, and the offer on the table is $156 over 6. The Tigers have not signed a free agent player to a multi-year contract in nearly 3 off seasons under Scott Harris here. So, again, it gives some insight now, the 6 years, $156 million, because, at this point, that's a lot of money for a guy who, let's not forget, is 30-plus years old. And he is 30 years old now. By the time that contract ages, he'll be 36, which isn't completely, again, he's going to be on the wrong side of 30 towards his contract. And a lot of Jays fans out there and just fans across the MLB are saying this is going to age like the George Springer contract, which now at this point, the George Springer contract obviously isn't what Jays fans had hoped it would be. Obviously, for the first couple seasons, between 800 and 900 OPS, it was a pretty solid. And I'm still happy they made that signing simply because it was a bit of a turning point, especially after the Hyun-Jin Ryu signing. When it comes to the actual value of this deal, I'm not entirely sold on 6 years, 156 being a great deal. That being said, this is Ross Atkins and Mark Shapiro's last year under contract, so if they want to swing for the fences and try to win next season, they of course made a move for Andres Gimenez, they made a move for Anthony Santander, you have all these guys. If you want to add Alex Bregman, who would add another 4 wins, and we talk a lot on this channel about how at the moment they're projected to have 85 to 87 wins, and I see a lot of you down below are disagreeing with that number. Again, that's just what the advanced analytics are saying. You could argue it could be worse, you could argue it could be better. It'd be tough to argue it would be better, but either way, let's say you're at 85 wins, those extra 4 wins that Bregman gets you, let's say for the next 2 to 3 years, and then that gets you in the playoffs. But then the contract's going to age poorly on the back half of it. Can the front office and will the front office be okay with stomaching that unfortunate, tail end of the contract? And we know that Ross Atkins, came out and the report basically is discussing the business case and how for any signing, they're going to have to get ownership approval. And like I discussed yesterday, I do think the business case is pretty easy. 85 to 80 win or 87 win team right now. And we know that Ross Atkins, and from Tri DVD reported that in order for Ross Atkins to make a big signing, for example, Alex Bregman or even Pete Alonso, they're going to have to get ownership's approval. And at this point, I would assume they'd get ownership approval for a guy like Alex Bregman, a guy like Pete Alonso, and there's the side of it of, hey, it's probably not going to age well, but there's also the side of it, let's just go for it and try to make a playoff push. And Alex Bregman would undoubtedly help with any playoff push that happens, right? There's no doubt about that, but the question mark is now, A, would you be better off spending those resources elsewhere, and then B, how he would fit with this team this season, even though I do think he would fit really well. I mean, you think about who the Jays have right now. They have, of course, defensively, they have Andres Gimenez, they have Dalton Varsho. If their pitching holds up, there's no reason they can't at least capture a wild card spot. And the big part here, a playoff berth would likely save a number of jobs in the front office. I covered this in yesterday's video, and that's one of the big things to discuss here is I don't think they care too much about what it's going to look like 3 years down the road, because there's a good chance that Mark Shapiro and Ross Atkins, more specifically Ross Atkins, aren't going to be a part of this organization 3 years down the road unless things change. So you think about that. You think about the Jays meeting with Pete Alonso. Like, they have a bunch of things on their table right now, and it's starting to get a little bit interesting, I will say. We also got this report from Hector Gomez. This is from a little bit ago. Again, they have an offer out on third baseman Alex Bregman. Interest is real in Pete Alonso. This was a few days ago, but it goes to show that, even if this is last week, they have had an offer out on Alex Bregman throughout the entirety of this offseason. We've been talking about it. Obviously, the Jays aren't frontrunners at this point. I would put them frontrunners for Pete Alonso, but at the end of the day, it won't matter unless they actually get the job done. And for Bregman, he's going to turn 31 by the time the season officially starts. So let's say you start a 6-year deal. He'll actually be 37 by the time that contract finishes. And I still think he's very capable. He is on the downswing. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he puts up a 3 WAR next season, a 3 WAR the season after. His defense is still good. His power is still solid. And he definitely would help the Toronto Blue Jays. But I'm not entirely sold on that length of contract being what the Jays need. Because I'm fine paying Pete Alonso $80 million over 3 years, whatever it ends up being, if it's only a 3-year deal with opt-outs. Whereas a 6-year deal, probably no deferred money, probably no opt-outs, will be something that is a lot harder to stomach. That being said, if there would be a team who's super desperate, we've heard all offseason long how desperate the Toronto Blue Jays are and the front office is, so it would make sense if the Jays are that team. But regarding Pete Alonso, again, they met with the Angels on Thursday. We're hearing some things that, the Jays have the highest offer on the table. We're hearing some reports, from Robert Murray and things like that the interest is really real. Mark Healy, again, dropped another tweet basically saying that at this point, the Jays are basically just waiting to see if the Mets will be able to match the offer that the Jays have, because the Jays have the highest offer on the table right now. And again, Doug Ducette came out and said the deal was done a few days ago. Clearly that wasn't the case, but some leverage is being played here. And I think ultimately surrounding Pete Alonso, the Jays get it done. But it seems like, according to, everybody out there, that the Jays have the highest offer on the table. But let me know down below what your thoughts are on that. Out of Alex Bregman and Pete Alonso, who would you prefer? Obviously, Pete Alonso is a cheaper fit. He's a better fit power-wise, but Alex Bregman is a very good positional, a positional fit. I mean, you have Bregman, Bichette, Jimenez, Vladdy. That's one of the best infields in baseball, and there's no doubt about it. So even though it would only last a couple of years, it could be very interesting to see what happens there. But that'll wrap it up. Once again, let me know down below what your thoughts are. And also, what is the contract you would sign Alex Bregman to, or at least feel comfortable? And do you think that 6/156 is too much? Thank you guys for watching. See you later.